Amidst a raging fight, at least 3 buildings were reportedly destroyed in Ukraine's separatist-held city of Kharkiv, the part of self-proclaimed Luhansk People's Republic. According to officials, Ukrainians bombed the city with rockets damaging a children's training school in Russia. Russia recognized the Luhansk People's Republic as an independent state.
В 0 часов 20 минут был произведен обстрел детско-юношеской спортивной школы с украинской стороны. В результате спортзал полностью разрушен, внутренние помещения повреждены. Занятия проводить невозможно, уничтожен весь инвентарь, все оборудование.
Well, in another incident, 13 people were killed in artillery shelling in the East Ukraine separatist-held city of Donetsk. According to the city's Russia-backed mayor, the deceased civilians included 2 children. Donetsk city has been controlled by the Russian-backed Donetsk People's Republic since 2014. The Ukrainian army continues to hold positions on Donetsk outskirts, and the city has come under artillery fire repeatedly in recent months. And amidst Ukraine's counter-offensive, Moscow-backed administration in Donbas has called for urgent referendums on the region, becoming part of Russia. The head of the Russia-backed separatist Donetsk region of Ukraine has now called on his fellow separatist leader of Luhansk province to combine efforts aimed at preparing a referendum on joining Russia. Meanwhile, Ukrainian forensic experts have so far exhumed 146 bodies, mostly civilians, at a mass burial site near the eastern town of Izium. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that some 450 bodies are believed to have been buried at the site. The Kremlin has denied that its forces were responsible for large-scale killings in East Ukraine. And it has further accused Kiev of fabricating its discoveries of mass graves in these recaptured regions. The Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that these are lies and we will stand up for the truth in this story. And for more on this, we are now being joined by Senior Kondrateva from St. Petersburg, who is a journalist. Welcome to the broadcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Right, my first question to you is that amidst Ukraine's counteroffensive, the Moscow-backed administration in Donbas has called for an urgent referendum for it to become a part of Russia. How real do you think the possibility of a referendum in this situation is?
So commenters from Donetsk and other areas have said that, probably that's not the greatest time to hold mass referendums because the polling centers can be attacked. That's the immediate threat. But we know that these calls are not happening for the first time. Right. We understand that with Ukrainian army advancing and recapturing yesterday, the first, I believe, settlement was recaptured in Luhansk region that was controlled by right. the separatist People's Republic, Luhansk People's Republic. So, of course, there are concerns, right. and people are scared. But I've not seen any comments on whether it's possible, how quickly it can happen, and what the main point is, what will change on the ground, even if these separatist right. republic become a part of Russia, because the territory of Russia has already been shelled by Ukrainian army. The bordering areas bordering the Kharkiv region, the Belgorod, there have been casualties, right. not mass casualties, but there have been, and you know that some military targets were targeted right. by Ukraine in Crimea. So what will really change if now, at this moment, these republics join Russia? I don't really know, and I've not really heard any, comments
right.
that I could share with you, any analysis that I can really share with you, whether it will be any sort of a turning point. So that
Right.
remains to be seen.
Right, so you mentioned about casualties. Now, recently, a total of 146 bodies were exhumed at the mass burial site in Izyum in eastern Ukraine. The Kremlin has denied allegations that the Russian forces had committed war crimes. Rather, the Kremlin has said that Kiev has fabricated all these discoveries of mass graves. What is your take on this?
See, it's very difficult to have a take because I've not been there, I've not seen. I see the same news reports that people around the world do see. One thing I can say that this is very similar to what had happened in March in Bucha. There has not been any independent investigation, despite it has been how many, 6 months now since the Bucha revelations. I have not heard of international investigators, independent one, going to Bucha and probing what has really happened there. So that is one thing. And the scenario is very similar. The moment Russian troops are leaving the ground, in few days we see the mass graves. We can't deny that there are mass graves, that a lot of people have been killed. Who these people are, how many of them are Ukrainian troops, and how many of them are civilians, and how they died. Were they killed or they died in the crossfire? We don't know any of this. And, seeing photographs, we cannot identify what the truth is. So we understand that as Russia perceived as the aggressor, because Russia has launched the invasion, Russia has sent the troops, it is perceived as aggressor, and sort of it goes without saying that, okay, if there are casualties, Russia is to be blamed. But it's a war, and missiles are flying from both sides. So we don't really know what has happened. And I think what the international community has to do, they have to send someone there and try to investigate. But we don't hear any of this, and that's what is. Of course, that doesn't help the victims or the families of those deceased. That won't help. But still, that would be something that international community could have done.
Right. My last question to you, that now recently, with Russia not making any major gains and further losing ground, there are fears that it might resort to using nuclear weapons. Do you think that this is a possibility as the war enters its 7th month?
See, for the last 7 months, we have been asking the same questions, and I think quite a lot of Western leaders have brought up the issue, oh, Russia is going to use nukes. First of all, Russia is retreating from some areas, but it's making some advances in other areas. It's difficult for me to comment. I'm not a military, strategist or expert to comment why it is happening this way, but that's a fact that it's happening. So I'm sure there is the leaders and the army have some plan of what they're doing and why they're doing. So, I think unfortunately, this conflict is going on. The casualties are mounting on both sides, and particularly now on the Republic's side, with yesterday's shelling of Donetsk, which I'm happy you have reported on, because international media does not really report on those casualties. But I think bringing up nuclear weapons just because the course of war is changing is not, it's not helping in covering or understanding the conflict or trying to resolve it.
Right. Thanks for getting us up to speed on that. Thanks very much.